Hi everyone, it's Shadeja. Welcome back to another episode of Decoded Dreams. And of course, like always, I have a special guest here with me, my friend Sarah, all the way from Florida. Hey Sarah.
Hey girl,
Go
how are
ahead and
you?
introduce yourself to the people.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah. You can find me on social media on underscore sa with three H's XO.
Ah, look, you remembered. She literally had to go check to see what her
Right.
Instagram was. Okay, Sarah, so what is it that you do? Like, how would you best describe your title as a person, career wise? Tell us
Yeah.
about yourself.
So overall, I'm a social worker through and through. Right now, I'm a program manager at a domestic violence agency. And then I'm graduating.
Yay.
So excited. And I'm about to be a therapist. So I'm going to be talking to people and helping people with their mental health.
That's good.
Yes.
How did you get into that? Is that something that you've always wanted to do, or is this new?
So yes and no. I always knew I wanted to help people out, right?
Okay.
But I grew up in a Haitian background.
Right.
So you could only be a nurse, doctor,
Yeah.
lawyer, all that stuff. So it wasn't ideally what I wanted, but I knew I wanted to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And then I noticed that in the Black communities, people don't talk about mental health.
Right.
I saw all these people suffering and nobody talking about it. So I'm like,
especially in a Caribbean household.
especially in a Caribbean household.
They not
So
doing
I'm
that.
like, okay, let me be the change that I want to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I started from there.
Yeah. Do you think now that you are in this position, do you think that you've been able to help anyone in your personal life, any family? Are they ever curious about what you do and how you help others?
Yeah, I think that they are. And I've been able to help a couple of people, more so my close cousins that feel like they can't go to anyone else. So
Yeah.
I'm characterized as that cousin that you can go to talk about your feelings.
Right.
So they can't go to their parents, they can't go to anyone else. And also, you tell me your business, I'm not telling anyone else.
See, and I think that's why they go
Yeah.
to you, because
Yeah.
they know that whatever they say is going to be stuck
Right.
with you.
And their parents hate it because they're like, why are you always going to Sarah? And it's like, why aren't you talking to your kids?
Oh.
No shade, no shade.
She said, why you not doing your job? Well, that's good. You said that that you wanted to be the change that you wanted to see. Was there something in your life that maybe pushed you more to help whenever it comes to people taking care of their mental health?
Yeah, I would say so. I have a brother. He's like my twin. And
Like your twin, or is your
so we're Irish twins.
Oh.
So I don't know if people really count it. I count it. So
I say why not?
do you know what Irish twins
Yeah.
are? Okay, so
I feel like most Black people do.
yeah. Surprisingly, some people still don't know. So I'm always like, do you know? But yes, he's my Irish twin, and we're so close, or we were so close. Something happened.
Oh.
Don't know what it was, but I know it had to do something with
Still to this day you don't know.
Yeah, still to this day. So when I did that switch, it was more so let me find out how I can help him, or maybe I can build a community around me that could help him, because I'm very emotional when it comes to my family,
Really?
or with my brother specifically. And I'm like, if I can't help him, maybe I can find someone in my community that can.
Yeah. No, and I get that. And I've had very similar interactions with my siblings, where me and my sister were extremely close growing up. We're a 4-year age gap. So not twins at all, but you could not tell us that. We always called ourselves twitches. We have the same tattoo because of that. So we were always really close growing up. But as she started moving into adulthood, her later teenage years, 16, 17, 18, that time frame, she did really start struggling with her mental health.
Yeah.
And once that happened, it took a toll on our relationship. One, because I didn't realize how I was affecting her as her older sister. Not literally me, but just my presence alone. She was always being compared to me. She felt like if she didn't do something correctly, if she didn't get good grades or whatever, it would disappoint me. But I'm like, I'm your sister, girl. I'm not your parent.
Right, right.
But because I'm the oldest, naturally I took up that motherly role. So it would push us apart. We ended up growing apart a lot because she was struggling mentally to kind of reach a position where she felt like she wouldn't be a disappointment,
Yeah.
So she had a lot of these silent battles by herself and stuff like that. And I didn't understand that because I was like, that wasn't ever me when I was your age. You know, like I just tackled things, moved on. Like, you know, I was like, this is what I got to do.
And also because you're older than her.
You know
so
what
it's
I'm
kind of
saying?
like, I'm just doing my own thing.
Right. Like I've always been that way where I was just like, it needs to get done. It's tough. I don't want to do it. I hate it. It makes me feel whatever, but I still got it done, you know, and I didn't stop. But so whenever she was going through stuff, I was like, girl, like, just don't do it. Just don't feel that way, you know? And I feel like that's how a lot of people assume that it's whenever it comes to your mental health. Like, it's just like, okay, just don't feel that way or go do something that makes you feel happy.
I wish it was that easy.
Right, but it's not. And I feel like there are a lot of misconceptions, especially in like the Black community whenever it comes to mental health. What do you think has been like the hardest part of being in this field? Because you also said like you do social work, like, you're in social work too. And I had a few social workers growing up in my life, and thank God for them, okay? So I can only imagine.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to social work, you have to really love what you do because you deal with people all day and it's their real life. Like, yes, you can go home to whatever, but if you are not in it for the right reasons, like, just no.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you think that you being a woman of color and even having like a Caribbean background, because you said you're Haitian American.
Yes,
like,
ma'am.
Haitian, okay, that's already, you know. But do you feel like that puts you in a better position as someone who is in your field? And the reason I ask this is because like I remember, again, like my little sister, she wanted to be a social worker growing up, but the reason she wanted to be is because she said like she wanted to help people who were going through similar things that we were going through. And like I said, we had social workers. So she's like, that's who was there to help me. So she wanted to be that person. Do you feel like you're in a very similar position?
Yes, because the Haitian, well, specifically like in Miami, it's a lot of Haitians. So a lot of the times the social workers didn't speak their language or everybody would just be so confused. I feel like me being Haitian, me being a woman, like they can relate to me a little bit more and people are more open when it's people that look like you versus someone else that's just coming into your home with like the language line on the phone.
Right. Because that's a real thing.
Yeah.
No, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. What do you say would be like some of the skills that are really necessary for someone to be? Like, I know you said like you have to like really enjoy what you do, but I mean like skills in general. Like, I could imagine that the skills that someone would need to be in social work or even to be a therapist are different than someone who needs to be like an engineer. Because, you know, like to be an engineer, I don't really need to have any sort of like soft skills. I sit behind a computer all day. Thankfully, I do have them because they help me in my career a lot more, but it's not like a necessity. So what would you say would be like the necessary skills?
I would say patience.
Oh, yeah, see, I wouldn't do good here.
You have to be patient because at the end of the day, everybody's in their own lane. You have to meet someone where they're at. And there's a lot of times people aren't ready yet.
Yeah.
So you just have to kind of wait until they're ready. You give them the resources, you give them everything that they need, but ultimately the decision is up to them. And just knowing that what they do is not a direct impact of what you did.
Yeah.
So you can, have you ever heard the saying, you can lead a horse to water,
but you can't make them drink?
Right. So I see it that way. I'm going to set you up the best way that I can. I will be there for you. I'll be your biggest cheerleader, but I can't do the work for you.
Right.
So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, you would need to be someone who is very understanding and, you know, like, not letting your personal perspectives or viewpoints get in the way of how you help someone. Because that could be a thing. Like, if you're like, okay, I done gave you this, why haven't you gone to do? And I could see people who lack like patience and understanding getting very frustrated in a role like that. Like, I keep helping you and you're not doing nothing with what I'm helping.
And it's like, it's not your life.
Right.
Like, you don't know what that person's going through.
Right.
Maybe in the mornings it's already hard enough for them to wake up. And then now you're coming here like, why didn't you do this? Like, give me a second to breathe.
Right.
I just finished crying in the bathroom
No,
for like 15 minutes. I just need a second to compose myself and then I can think about the next steps. Or I don't even know where I'm going to sleep tonight or what I'm going to eat tonight, but you're telling me about parenting classes. Like, can we figure out where I'm going to sleep with my baby or something like that?
Right.
So I see a lot of that happening, and I just ask them, hey, how are we doing today? Let them get it all out, and then we can address, well, first, basic needs. Make sure that you're good. After I leave here, are you going to be safe?
Mm-hmm.
If not, safety is the only thing we're talking about.
Do you feel like there are certain things that you've been exposed to that have somehow altered the way that you live your life? Like, like I feel like sometimes we see something, or sometimes you do get so out of touch with the realities of the world, right? Especially whenever you are living, like you said, you're in school currently, like some people never got that chance to go to school, like things like that. Do you think that you have been exposed to certain things that have maybe either one made you more grateful or more cautious, or, like more expressive,
I would say like all the above.
Really?
So my family, I have some family members that are in the nicer areas. I have some family members that are in the not so nice areas.
Yeah.
I've worked with people from all different type of backgrounds. So how I see it is I'm just thankful for where I am in every situation. I never see myself as being better than someone. I'm grateful for what I have, but at the end of the day, everything can switch like that.
Yeah.
So,
dang. I think everyone does that, though, truthfully. Like, well, I won't say everyone, but the people who are, like, very in tune with others and wanting to be connected with others, I think it's very natural to be, like, sometimes you do need that reality check, you know? Like, even if you were, like, part of that. Like, I know for me, sometimes I'm, like, I am a very humble individual, but, like, I think it's because there are times where I'm like, I know what I've been through. Now, obviously, I know I'm going to do everything in my power to never go back to where I was.
Yeah.
But, like, that doesn't make me...
It can change in a second.
You know what I'm saying? So I always try to keep that in my mind. What do you think would be some things, like, that you think people need to, I guess, debunk whenever it comes to mental health? Like, I hear people who are in, like, therapy, who have studied, social work, all these things, and I feel like there are a lot of misconceptions whenever it comes to mental health, therapy, those types of things. What do you think would be, like, a few things that...
Oh, I gotta think about that one. Because honestly, like the way that I see the world and other people see the world, it's not the same sometimes, right? So I think everybody like knows, okay, therapy's good for you, right?
Right.
But then there's some people that are like, no, I'm not trying to sit here and talk about my feelings. But to me, I'm like, it's good to talk about your feelings, or I think that everybody knows that it's good to talk about your feelings. I would say... Honestly, I don't have anything right now.
Okay, so look, let me tell you a story, right? So I have this friend, right? And he started going to therapy. Sorry. He started going to therapy, and one thing that he said, I asked him, why did he start going to therapy? And he said it was because he wanted to be a better husband one day, right? Wasn't even in a relationship, but said he wanted to be a better husband one day, right? And so I was like, dang, like that really got me thinking, right? Because I've done therapy in the past. Unfortunately, it was always mandated therapy. So,
but did you feel like it helped at all?
Yes, but more so, I think what it was is that there were actual problems happening at the time. So for me, I always associated therapy with something's already wrong.
Okay.
Instead of treating it as like a preventative measure, like, okay, let's just make sure things don't go wrong, or if they do, you know how to handle it. And to me, I think that that's like a common misconception, right? Like people don't want to go to therapy until it's already bad,
right?
Like they're already in a bad mental state or whatever's going wrong. Like I know a lot of people who do like couples therapy. They don't go until there's been there's been some infidelity or, like they don't really like each other no more. Then that's when they want to go to therapy. But really, I feel like it would be a lot better if you went and tried to do those things before you got to that point.
Yeah, like while you're dating. Because as you said, it doesn't have to hit the fan in order to go to therapy. It can just be used as a precautionary measure.
Right.
Just for us to be on the same page before we go into this thing as important as marriage or just life, doing life together.
Yeah, and I think it's important for people to know that, especially younger individuals. And honestly, I could even say younger Black individuals, younger people of color, men, like, you know, like those people who feel as though, one, they'll be judged for taking their mental health seriously. And like I said, I know there's a lot of people who be like, there's no big deal. Like, if you feel sad, just don't. Just stop. You know, like
stop being sad.
Like,
okay.
Right. Like it's the reality of life. Like you're a man, you know, like
you gotta suck it up. You gotta take all of those burdens and carry all of that.
And do you run into situations like that? I know you're not in therapy yet, right? Like I know, but like is that something that you're already seen in the past, like doing what you're currently doing, like especially in, like, you're in a very specific field right now.
Yeah,
you know,
I work with domestic violence, and a lot of the misconceptions is men don't get abused, where that is not true. So it happens to men as well. So whenever I reach out to male survivors, they automatically don't want services because it's kind of like, oh, well, it wasn't that serious, or they downplay things. And I'm like, no, like, it's okay. And you deserve to be heard. You deserve to be listened to, and, you know, try to give them those affirmations. But because they grew up thinking that, you know, I'm the man, so I'm supposed to just kind of get over it.
Right.
And when it comes to women, like, they're the weaker sex, so for them to put their hands on me, it's like they don't want to talk about it or anything like that. And I just try to tell them, hey, like, it's okay. Not all the time does it work. I've only probably worked with one male survivor in the whole 2 years that I've done this, but maybe one day that will change.
What do you think that we could do as a community to, one, put people in positions to not be in the position where they'll need you, but then also, like, if they're already like that, like, how do you think that we, whether it's someone you're dating, whether it's just a friendship, like, you know, people you work out with, I don't know, like, you know, what are the things that we could do to kind of, like, encourage getting that help, you know, like, doing
like
those things.
Encourage conversation. Honestly, you just have to be open, have an open mind. If somebody comes to you with something, don't be quick to judge, because once you judge someone or have that preconceived notion, or they see you acting a certain way because they said something, they're automatically going to shut down, and you may not have a chance again. So I look at every interaction that way. Like, I'm going to be completely neutral, completely calm. I do this thing where my voice does not go high, it does not go low.
Really?
I stay right here, especially when I'm doing one-on-one sessions, because once someone feels like you're judging them, they're not going to want to open up to you. Right. And the only way that I can help you is if you trust me enough to open up.
Right. Do you think, you just said that, like, your voice doesn't go high, it doesn't go low. Do you do that, like, even...
like in my real life?
Yeah, like...
I try not to.
In your real life, like, do you take the same approach, like, say if, like, in your dating life, right? Like, say that there is a conflict. If there ever is a conflict, you know, unfortunately, I know there we go.
No relationship's perfect.
Right. But, like, do you keep that same sort of, like, mentality? Like, oh, you know, you try to approach it. Like, do you think you take the things that you have learned and studied and apply that to those relationships and those conversations?
Yeah, I try my best to.
Really?
Because with other people, it's easier for me to kind of take the emotion out of it because I'm here to help you. But with a relationship, it's kind of like, why don't you hear me?
Yeah.
So then my voice might go a little high, but I do always take a second to just think back. And then my partner does very well at checking me and, like, okay,
oh,
Sarah,
I'm sure.
like... He's like, okay, like, let's take a step back. Let's really think about this. And we've been able to talk things through. So I feel like that's why we're so good right now. But yeah, I try not to do too much when it comes to that.
Have you ever been like, okay, although we're just dating right now, do you ever, like, try to encourage, like, couples therapy?
Yeah, but we're both open to it.
Oh, really?
And I think that that's something, like, we probably will do before, you know, taking that next step. We've both talked about it. Like, he knows that I'm very, like, pro therapy, everything. Yeah. So I haven't gotten any backlash or any pushback from it.
Well, that's good. And I think it's because of the specific person that you're dating that he's like that. No, and knowing him personally, it also helps knowing that, like, but I will say that there's been times, even whenever I've been dating people, where I've been like, hey, look, we should go to therapy. And they'd be like, what we need to go to therapy for? Like, is something wrong? Like, does I'm like, no.
It goes back to that preconceived notion of thinking that it has to be a problem for you to go to therapy.
You know, but like maybe like I always tell people I have a very type A personality. Yeah, I always find myself dating men who have type B personalities. I don't.
And how does that go?
You know, like, again, being like the older child, so I'm the oldest, and just I've always been like the overachiever in everything I do. Like, I always have to be the overachiever. I got to get everything needs to be done a certain way in a certain time frame, like super organized schedules. Like, that's always been me, right? But then I always end up dating like more of like a go with the flow type of person, a live in the moment type of person, you know, like and luckily, naturally, I think that's why I'm drawn to them, because I'm so like, go, 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 go. And they're just like, just relax, like chill out.
And they can chill you out
right,
when you're
so
like on 10.
Right. So I always think of it as being like a balancing thing at first, but then it ends up becoming very frustrating, because then I'm like this and you're not like this, and it drives me insane. But usually whenever I'm in those situations, I'll be like, yeah, I think we should go to therapy, because clearly, like, there's something, we need to have a middle ground, right? And I think that's been like a struggle for me, is finding that middle ground whenever I do end up in situations like that. And I think that goes even beyond dating. Like, I have a lot of type B personalities in my life in general. But honestly, I don't even think it's them. I think it's me. Like, I'm just... I'm just a lot, like, like...
But it's okay to be a lot,
right.
though.
No, and see, and that's another thing, like, I went to a life coach, because I was like, I don't really need therapy, right? Like, not in this season of my life, but I need, like, a life coach, right? Like, to help me kind of, like, decipher, like, what next paths I want to take to get to where I want to be, right? And my life coach was telling me, I was telling her that, like, I want to start being more in the middle. Like, instead of just being 0 to 100, I want to kind of sit in like the 50% range, like, I don't just, okay, I have this new idea in my head, and then within the next 24 hours, I done signed, like, say if I say I want to do golf, cool. Next thing you know, the very next day, I'm going to have a full wardrobe of golf attire. Okay. I'm going to have signed up with the best personal golf trainer,
Because you're investing in yourself.
Right. And that's how I say it, too. I'm like, I'm investing in myself. Like, this is something that'll be good for me. But I just take it and just keep running with it, basically. But then I don't stop there. I'm like, okay, I got golf on Wednesdays, but then on Thursdays I have some other class, and then Fridays I'm doing this, Saturdays I'm like, every day has something.
That seems like a lot. Do you ever feel like you get burnt out easy?
Yes and no. I've learned that I operate at my best whenever I am doing a lot.
Okay.
Whenever I have too much like free time, I get very I don't know a better word than to say, but bummy. Like, if I have, like, say I only have 2 obligations that week, and there's 7 days on a week, and only 2 of those days require me to do something, I'm going to be, like, my appetite's going to be trash. Like, I'm not going to really be working out at the gym. I'm not going to be getting dressed. Like, like, it just affects my whole life whenever I'm not busy, right? And that's something that I talked to my life coach about. I told her, I was like, yeah, like, I just kind of want to operate, because I was like, I'm sure this can't be good for me physically, like, just always on go. And I know I'd be stressing my assistant out all the time, because she literally, I would be like, hey, can you look into like tennis lessons? And she'd be like, no, you already got too much going on. She's like, no, I'm not adding no more. And then I just do it anyways. And then she's like, well, why did you do that? Do you know that you have this and this today? Well, see, now I got to reschedule this. And, and it stresses out the people in my life. Although it doesn't stress me out, like, when the people in my life are stressed out, now I got to be stressed out, because y'all are messing up my flow of everything. Because, again, like, I'm an extreme, like, this. But my life coach was like, if that's the person you want to be, you just got to own it. Like, if you want to be that person who lives in the 100%, you just have to own it. But, like, do so in a way where you 100% give yourself a break, too.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been trying to do. So now, instead of having like these jam-packed days, I've literally had to start scheduling.
Hey, schedules are okay, and it keeps your life in order. It honestly does more good for you than you think.
It does, right? But I've literally had to start scheduling breaks. Like, I put in my schedule from this time to this time, I'll watch TV. From this time to this time, I need to eat. You know, like,
and that's what you got to do right now.
If it's not there, I will not do it. Like, I'll just be like, no. Like, I didn't have time
not gonna eat today.
No, literally. Like, there are some days where I have so many meetings that I don't eat until 4 p.m. And I'm like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, I didn't even realize. So that's how it affects me. And I think that's why I started like, okay, you know, maybe I need to, like, I even took it as far as being like, do I need to get on like some sort of medication to kind of like relax me? But then I remember that they were like, well, if that's what you want. And I said, no, is it going to stop me from being at 100%? And she said, yeah, it's going to mellow. I said, nope, never mind.
Yeah, because it might mellow you out a little bit.
Yeah, I
You
said
already
no.
don't
Like,
wanna be,
I like being a very expressive person, someone who just feels everything. Like, I'm very passionate about literally everything. Like, people call it dramatic. I call it passionate.
I think it's okay to be a little bit dramatic.
You know, like, I'm like, why not just go ahead and bring out the drama? But whenever I was talking to you and Kinsley, your partner.
Say Kinsley.
Okay.
We're going to be together, so.
Period. No, literally, go ahead. That's the energy I love to see,
ma'am.
especially because that's my friend. So I love this energy. I'm not going to say nothing else, but I just love this energy. He deserves that energy for sure. But whenever I was talking to him, he was like, yeah, you know, like, and you saying that you are like social work within domestic violence, I think that's very, very funny. And the reason why I was like, oh, that's crazy, because like growing up for me, that's why I always had a social worker, right? So like my mom in one of her previous marriages, he beat us all the time. Like all the time. He would do her, then come do us. Like it was really, really bad. And then like, even then, like, and I was just talking to my dad earlier actually. But whenever I was talking to him, like I had brought up how there were a lot of conversations and things that he didn't know happened, right? And I think that's another thing. Like, you know, sometimes you have like the what happens behind closed doors stays behind closed door mentality, especially in families. But I was like, oh no, I had to talk to her because like I could relate already. Like I know what it's like to be on the other side of that. So like you're on one side, but I know what it's like to be on the other side.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, this is gonna be great to just have this conversation to begin with. But for you, what path would you say, like if someone was interested in being in a position, because I think a lot of people want to help people. Yeah. Right? Is it necessary, like first, so this is more of like a two-part question, I guess, but is it necessary, one, for someone to go to school to help people in the same way you help people? And I don't mean necessarily like this is their job. Like say if I'm doing cybersecurity, but I still want to help the same people you're helping. Is there a way for me to do that? And then two, if I do decide to like make a career out of it, what is the path that I would take?
Okay. So before I get to that, because you shared about your experience when you were a child, I do want to say that I'm so happy that, you know, you have persevered through all of that.
Oh, thanks.
There's a lot of times, because I teach domestic violence classes, and one of the topics is how DV affects children. So I see both sides. Yeah. And the fact that,
but that also
you're here,
explains
you're
my
doing
sister.
It, right.
Yeah.
So I am so proud of you. Just want to say that.
Oh.
And when it comes to schooling and everything, honestly, I feel like if you have a big heart and if you want to do the change, you can do it. I mean, most agencies won't hire you unless you have some kind of background or some kind of degree, whether in social work or psychology. But you can always volunteer. There's always going to be opportunities for you to help out that way, even if you're not if you didn't go to school for it.
Yeah. Okay. So you said that you would have to like major in social work or
either
psychology.
Social work, psychology, or just have some kind of public relations kind of background.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. Is that what you did?
I did my bachelor's in social work, and then I'm getting my master's in social work now.
But you getting your master's in social work is going to help you become a therapist.
Yes. Yeah.
How?
So you can, honestly, with an MSW, you can do anything and everything. That's how I see it.
Really?
Yeah. So in order for you to practice therapy, you can get your master's in social work, or I believe it's master's in psychology or some kind of behavioral health. I'm not too sure about the other one, so don't quote me. But I know that you can get your master's in social work, and then when you become a licensed clinical social worker, you can even diagnose people or just start your own private practice and things like that. Yeah.
Okay. What is like your next thing? Like, what do you see yourself doing over the next 5 years?
Ooh, so much. So after I graduate, I definitely want to start practicing therapy. Right now, I specialize in trauma and intervention.
Okay.
So I'm going to be doing a lot of things like that. I've done a lot of jobs when it came to child welfare. So I might tap into that and just see how I can help those traumatized kids, because it always goes back to someone's childhood. And if I can be that change while they're still young, like, to me, I've done my job. And then eventually start my own private practice. Right now, I am answering like life questions on Instagram and TikTok.
Yeah.
So people send me questions and I just give you my answer, not as a licensed therapist yet, but just free advice for now. And I try to be unbiased, as much as I can. And they're all anonymous, so it's not like I know anyone.
Yeah.
But yeah, just different things like that. And hopefully, maybe one day I can be a therapist to the celebrities. We'll see. I don't know.
Because they be needing it, honestly, if I'm being honest.
They do. A lot of people just, and they might want to be a little bit more discreet. I can do all of that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, that's exciting. Yeah. I'm really glad. I don't remember if you said this explicitly, but I was just thinking about it. But like, you deal with a lot of like, if you said you specialize in trauma and intervention and stuff like that, I would imagine that's really hard for you to have to hear all day, every day and stuff like that.
It takes a lot of self-care.
Okay.
I'm very big with self-care.
Okay, good.
Like, if your self-care is not there, you will get easily burnt out. One of my first jobs, I was a child protective investigator. So I went into homes and I saw...
And I had a lot of those come to my house,
right,
too, so I know.
I saw a lot of things. And it was in that job that I had to learn how to do self-care. And since then, I've picked up different practices, different things. And now, like, no one can get me upset. No one could tell me anything that I will be like, oh, my gosh. Or like, oh, like maybe I might be like, oh, that's the first I've heard that. But I wouldn't do it in a way to make someone feel uncomfortable or anything like that. To me, everything is normal.
Do you think that's kind of like you've become a little desensitized to stuff, or?
Not. I want to say yes and no. Yes, because I stay composed. Like, nothing will make me like, oh my gosh. But no, because everybody's experience is different.
Right.
So I just meet you where you're at, and we go from there.
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, well, this has been great. Do you have any advice for the people in general, like life advice that you've learned while working in your field, anything, before, we wrap it up?
I would say take care of yourself, because at the end of the day, it's you versus you. And if you're not pouring into yourself, you cannot expect anyone else to do it for you.
Aww. No, I feel like you've been dropping bars. Okay, like I said, like, who is this girl? I love this for you, and I'm really glad that we were able to have this conversation and talk. I feel like sometimes people just need that reminder, like, like, it's okay. It's okay to not be okay. You know what I'm saying? And I think as society, we are moving to start being a little bit more open-minded in that. But I really hope that everyone who's watching these episodes do always I want them to take something from each episode. But if there was anything, I want people to take, like, it's okay to not be okay, and it's okay to get the help that you may need, even if it's not right away. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah.
And it doesn't have to be just when crisis hits.
Right, exactly.
Like, it can be anytime. You can talk about anything with your therapist.
I know, because me and my therapist, I'll be like, hey, let me tell you what I did. Should I do this? And they just be like, I mean, hey, but thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and for everyone who's tuned in, thank you for tuning into this episode of Decoded Dreams with Jadeja and Sarah. Go ahead and tell the people one last time where they can find you.
Yes, y'all can find me at _saw with 3 H's, so SAHHHXO.
That's so cute. Okay, and now we're going to look at this camera and say bye.
Bye.
Bye.